I met Ding Liren for the first time a year ago in Madrid. I was there for the candidates, which we all know went really well for Ding, and at the press conference, I decided to ask him a very important question.
Congrats to all three for an amazing tournament. I had a question that is a little bit different from the others. If you would only play chess for fun, what do you think is the most fun chess opening?
And now it's time for Ding, who goes C4 most of the time.
Yeah, especially here.
I would recommend it for black player, maybe King's Indian and the Sicilian, the most complicated lines, also playable.
Thank you.
Also a classical opening, not that bad.
Thank you so much for answering the question. Thank you.
When he said that, I could not believe my ears. Was Ding Liren calling the King's Indian the most fun opening in chess? I thought he was going to say the Hippo or the King's Gambit or even the Vienna Gambit, but not the King's Indian. But Ding is now world champion, and so we gotta take his words with the utmost seriousness. If Ding says that the King's Indian is a great opening that's also really fun, well, then he's right. And I have not known about this for this 20 years that I've played chess. So in this video, I'm gonna show all of you my very first game playing the King's Indian. Let's see if Ding is right about this being the most fun opening in the world or not. I was playing against an Icelandic 2200, and let me tell you, I was terrified because I had never played this opening. But apart from terrified, I was also very relieved, to be honest, because you guys have no idea how many takes it took for me to make this video. I spent the last hour playing blitz games thinking, hey, someone's gotta play 1d4, right? And so I ended up having a bunch of games where I had the white pieces where I couldn't play the King's Indian, obviously, and a bunch of games where my opponent would just go 1e4. So this was the first time today where my opponent went 1d4 and I was literally screaming out of happiness. I literally shouted yes. So my opponent went d4. I was happy. Knight f6. I was really hoping they would go c4 and allow me to go for my now beloved King's Indian. And they did. And I said thank you. So c6, g6. This is now the King's Indian. Now, you may say, Anna, what is the King's Indian? Well, the King's Indian is an opening that has been used by a lot of really strong grandmasters. It's a very, very, very famous opening, and it's been around for a very long time. I mean, it's a pretty classic opening, but at super GM level, some people think it's kind of dubious for black because you're getting white, or you're giving white a lot of space. So basically, what you do with the black pieces is that you try to develop all your minor pieces really quickly, you castle really quickly, and you let white take all the center. You're not scared of white taking all the center because at some point you're going to be challenging the center a little bit later on by going either d6, e5 or d6, c5 and just kind of asking these pawns, where are you going? So that is what the idea is. And for, anyone that's not a super grandmaster, this opening is perfectly fine to play as black. It's really a good opening. So my opponent went knight c3, bishop g7, e4. This is all very standard theory. And now I went d6 to stop this pawn from pushing, kicking away my knight. So after this, my opponent went knight f3. Now, when my opponent went knight f3, I was really happy because I always play in this position, this little pawn push. Now, what does this pawn push do? Well, it prevents this bishop from getting to the square because this bishop has a big dilemma in life. The dilemma is that this bishop is actually pretty good in the sense that all of black's pawns are going to be on dark squares. And if all of the pawns are on dark squares, then a light squared bishop is going to be fantastic because it's going to be able to navigate through all the squares. But the issue is that this bishop has no squares to navigate to. It can't go anywhere. I mean, it's just stuck. So actually, a lot of times, after knight f3, there's this idea of going bishop g4, pinning this bishop to simply exchange this bishop for this knight and get rid of this bishop, which is pretty bad. That's why I like to go h3 and stop this move, just to kind of make this bishop look kind of funny, staying at home and kind of force the bishop to stay there for a while, making its life a little bit harder. So here, my opponent went bishop e3 and I went knight b d7. These are all very common development moves, although I was actually a little bit, Yeah, I was a little bit still not sure about how the theory went because I don't really play this myself and I wanted to do this without really studying any theory, just, to make it a little bit more fun. So here bishop e2 was played and now I castled. Save king is really important. And so far, everything has looked normal. I mean, you look at this position and you say, hey, this is a normal position of chess. But when you see the next move you're about to see, you're going to say, what just happened? Okay. And it's going to surprise you more than what my cow profile picture is surprising you right now. Yes. If you're watching this and you're like, Anna, why do you have a cow? Which, by the way, is a Polish cow. I think it's like a meme. I don't know. If you're wondering that, I'm stupid, okay? I did a challenge on my Twitch channel where I told myself that I was gonna be a cow and I was gonna make moo sounds, the cow goes moo, for every sub in my Twitch channel until I reach 2,300 and I'm stuck here at 2,150. So I need to study some chess and get the cow out of my system. But anyways, in this position, my opponent did a crazy move. I mean, I don't think you guys would be able to guess what that move is. He went knight g1. Knight g1, and I've played white. I've played against the King's Indian so many times in my life. I have never seen this move in my life. Retreating the knight to its starting square. It's like the knight was missing its own home. And so I was really shocked when he did this move because this is just, the knight is getting out and now the knight is coming back. Why? Why is the knight doing all of this? It would have been so much more natural to just simply castle, continue development, kick away my bishop, get the rooks in, all the stuff that you learn when you're improving at chess, right? So I was really shocked when he simply went back with the knight. And also because actually I'm pretty happy. I wanted to exchange this bishop. I was going to exchange it for the knight, but if I can exchange it for the bishop and get rid of my opponent's bishop here, then yes, please, I'm going to do that. I love that. So I went bishop takes e2, knight takes. He wanted to get the knight over here, maybe because, I was thinking about going f4 or something like that. But I was really surprised about him wanting to have the knight over here. So I decided to go for e5, which actually here was not the best move. I should have gone knight g4 and just simply asked this bishop, where are you gonna go? But I decided to first go e5 because it's typically a pretty standard way of playing against the King's Indian, simply challenging one of these central pawns. And now my opponent pushed the pawn and I decided to do a move that also looks a little bit funky. Well, not funky, it's just a bad move. Honestly, I don't really know what the word funky means, but I think it's sounds pretty cool, so I wanted to use it. So I went knight c5 here, and this move actually doesn't really do much. The reason I wanted to go here was because I wanted to threaten this pawn. But actually, after my opponent, if they would go something like f3, defending this pawn, then actually my knight is just looking stupid here, and soon my opponent might be able to go b4. So I don't really like this move. I shouldn't have gone for it, but I just wanted to threaten a pawn, And actually here you might say, Anna, why can your opponent not take? Taking here would actually be really, really, really bad because actually these knights are not so good in this position. We can see that in this position, the knights just don't have a lot of squares to go to. And this wouldn't really be terrible, but I think this would be pretty good for me. Even if my pawns are kind of doubled, I'd be taking some control of the center and I would really be happy in this position. I don't really think this is so bad for me. So after knight c5, opponent went queen c2, defending the pawn. And now I finally realized that the enemy was this bishop. I realized that I had to get rid of this bishop. Actually, knight g4 is a very thematic move in the sense that in a lot of openings that I play even in the Sicilian, whenever this bishop is on e3, you want to go knight g4 just because if the bishop stays here and I'm able to take it, then the king is going to become super weak. And if the bishop moves, well, then I got this little move with a tempo. I might be able to push this pawn to f5. I might be able to get a little bit more of space and open up some files. So in this position, probably the best move my opponent had was to now take on c5. And after take, simply go castles and just say, Anna, what's your knight doing over there? But my opponent, well, actually, my opponent did that. I forgot. Yeah, my opponent did that. Okay, I'm just kidding. All right. So my opponent did take on c5. They say that chess players have good memory. What's going on, Anna? What's your memory doing? So yeah, my opponent did the best move. So takes, I captured back. And now I thought that they were going to castle. I thought that the king was just simply going to get into safety. But instead, my opponent did a move which I really did not understand, you know? In fact, they did a move that's so non-understandable that I would understand knight g1 more than the move that they did. They went knight g3. And I simply wanted to ask this knight, where are you going to go? I am literally taking up all the squares that this knight can go to. I mean, knight f1 just looks terrible. So where's this knight going? So yeah, I wasn't really sure why the knight went here. I don't know if it was to maybe prevent me from pushing f5. Maybe my opponent got scared of that. But then I found this idea of going queen h4. And this move has a double threat right now. So in this position, I want to ask you a question, okay? I want you to, in like literally 10 seconds, figure out why this move would be not so great by white. What is the tactic that I'm trying to go for? Okay, you know what? Okay, whatever. I'm just going to tell you. The idea of going queen h4 was that one, if the king castled, I'd be able to checkmate on h2, so I'm stopping the castles. But if h3 threatening this knight, I'm just really happy about seeing this move, so I'm just too excited to wait. Then this knight can go to e3, and I'm literally sacrificing a full knight. Like, my opponent can simply just take the knight, but if they take the knight, I'll be able to capture on g3, and I'm simply weakening all of my opponent's pawns. Now I would be creating, well, I'd be creating a really weak pawn here on e3, so that would basically be the idea. And here maybe queen f2 would be the only move, and then the game would continue. Maybe I'd take, and maybe even go f5 at some point, but then the game would continue. But I thought this looked pretty good. And if you don't take, well, then I'm just going to be taking this pawn. So I thought this was pretty cool. After queen h4, I was really hoping my opponent would go h3, but they did not do that. They went long castles. They said goodbye to you, knight, and goodbye to all your problems, and they castled. So in this position, I decided that, you know what, I was sad that this move did not happen, but I thought that I need to start bringing in some more pieces. So I went for this move, which is a little bit crazy maybe, which is f5. And I mean, was objectively this move the best? Probably not, because there's takes, but after takes, I always have this check, so I'm never really losing a pawn. But what I wanted to do is that I wanted to open up for this rook. I wanted to bring the rook into the game, right? We want to always bring all our pieces into a game, and I really wanted to bring this rook into the game and put a lot of pressure on this f2 pawn, which is right now looking super duper weak. So in this position, my opponent, sorry, I don't know what I did. In this position, my opponent did a move that I said thank you for when they did it. And okay, I'm going to give you guys like 10 seconds to try to guess it. But my opponent went h3 now, kicking away the knight, which looks like a very normal move. But I have a tactic that brought me the biggest smile to my face whilst I was playing this game. Try to guess what the tactic is, you know? But right now we can see that my knight is under threat. But all of a sudden, one of the pawns that were defending this knight are gone. They have moved. So what has happened? Well, what has happened is that there's only one defender of this knight, which is this pawn, but I actually have a way of getting rid of this defender, which is by capturing the pawn. And then after the queen captures the knight, which is which makes all the sense in the world, I have this move f4, and now the knight is pinned. The queen is not defended, and the knight does not have a single square it can go to where it would also defend the queen. It is impossible. So actually in this position, I am just simply winning my piece back and I'm getting a pawn. Now, my opponent did the best move that they could do, which was to capture the pawn in c5. And I decided here to take this knight with the pawn, which actually it would have been better to take it with the queen because it would be putting a little bit more pressure to this pawn. And also I might be threatening to go queen e3, bishop h6 sometimes, but I wanted to take with the pawn because I really wanted to open up this file for my rook. That was at least the plan that I had. So that was the reason for me doing it. In this position, my opponent got really greedy and they captured the pawn on c7, but I had this move that would make me at least be able to bring in my rook here. So actually here, there's a crazy engine move, which is to go b5, which is just absolutely insane with the idea that if pawn takes, I get the rook in and then boom. And then if knight takes and this pawn is hanging, but I went rook c8, simply saying, I want to take your pawn on c4 and I just want to get the rook in. Now, Okay. I'm actually like really happy now because my opponent went king b1. And the reason they went here was because they were scared of my rook that was just, infiltrating in their position. But in this position, I have a brilliant move. And this is actually the second brilliant move I did this game. The first brilliant move was sacrificing the knight. But now I have another brilliant move. Chess.com says that it's brilliant. And it made me really happy. And the move is... You guys know it. Every single one of you knows it. It's saying you're hearing it in your head. You're hearing the whispers, but you're hearing it louder and louder and louder. Sacrifice the rook, people. Rook takes c3. That's what I had to do here. Why did I have to do this move? This is crucial for me in this position. The reason for it being so important is because this knight is right now the octopus, okay? This knight is the piece that's literally defending everything in my opponent's position. So after I take this knight, I am opening up for this king. And I am right now also eliminating the defender of a couple pawns. So I will be able to get a couple pawns back. I started going queen takes e4, king a1, and then I took the next pawn. But not only that, this bishop, look at this now. This bishop is going to be an absolutely fantastic bishop in this diagonal. This pawn is a very, very, very big, small, weak pawn. I don't know. It's weak. And I will try to do everything in my power to capture it. So here, this is now starting to become a really difficult position for white to defend. So my opponent went queen b2 in a desperate attempt to exchange queens. But I said no. I was once taught that if you're threatening stuff in your opponent's position, if you're trying to threaten the king of your opponent has a very weak king, then you should never exchange queens, which is a rule that obviously has exceptions, but this was not an exception. I really wanted to go queen f3, one, because I'm preventing rook f1, so I would be able to take, and take. But two, I'm putting some pressure on this c3 pawn. So after the pawn pushes to d6, I have this crazy move e4. And now the threat is bishop takes c3, winning my opponent's queen. Here, my opponent did a move, queen b3 check, which, may look very natural. But I literally spent a minute of my time figuring out why I was not allowed to go bishop takes c3. And I felt so stupid. I need to tell you this. I felt so stupid. I went queen takes c3. I went bishop takes c3. I was like, why is chess.com not allowing me to make this move? Obviously, because I'm in check, but I didn't realize, the queen was so far away. I wasn't wearing my glasses. I did not see that my king was being in check. So the only move I have is to go king h8. I don't want to exchange my queen, and I don't want to block with the rook because then the pawn is going to start pushing. So I went immediately king h8 when I realized this. But now in this position, I only had 3 seconds left on the clock. I mean, look at this. I had this crazy position where this pawn is going down, this pawn is going up, and, I have 3 seconds on the clock, and this was just absolutely insane. So, and yes, I don't know what I did, but yes, my profile picture on chess.com, that's same move. So in this position, my opponent went d7. And now, I had the chance of making this, I'm not going to kid you, the greatest game of my life. One move over here, and this game will make the King's Indian worth it for the rest of my life. Like, if I would have made this move, and the game would have continued the way it could have continued, I would literally have personally sent a letter to Ding Liren and said, thank you, Ding, for changing my life in chess. I would have been so happy. Now, I was very low on time here, as you can see, but you can take a moment to try to find the winning move here, which is absolutely insane. It didn't cross my mind, although now that I'm seeing the position with more time, it's easier, obviously. In this position, everybody, I can go for the insane move, pawn push to g2. Why is this insane? Well, because I am literally allowing my opponent to make a queen. Right now, my opponent can make a queen, but then I can take my opponent's rook and make a queen. And this would have been a 4-queen game, everybody. And come on, I mean, if you have a 4-queen chess game, I mean, it's got to go into like your book of like personal best games. Like, this is just too amazing. 4 queens on the board. We could have seen this. This is completely winning for me at this point in time because I'm just simply winning material. Yeah, I'm either I'm just simply winning material. Everything is hanging here. The pawn is hanging. This queen is hanging. Literally everything in this position is hanging. And my opponent's position is falling apart. It's -10. I have a 10-point advantage here. So this is completely winning for me. But I got really stressed at this point with 3 seconds on the clock. And I decided that I was going to go bishop takes c3 check. Now, so far, it's not a terrible move. It's just that it loses most of my advantage. So after bishop takes c3, king b1, and like my dear mother said, it's not the first mistake you do that makes you lose the game. It's the second one. And in this position, you know, after bishop takes c3, I've put myself in a sticky situation. I need to find the only move here, which is bishop a5, defending the promotion square of this pawn. Now, I had 3 seconds on the clock here, and I went rook d8 instead, thinking that I was fine. I was stopping the pawn from pushing for now, and maybe I could retreat with the bishop, get the queen involved, and then boom, try to checkmate. But that was a dream too far away, and my opponent decided to first bring in this rook to f1. I was very stressed with my time. I went queen e3, the only move that's still defending my bishop, but after rook f e1, I could have retreated. I could have gone queen f3, which was probably the better move, but I decided to go queen takes rook and just try to push with this pawn. But this pawn was just a little bit too far away. The queen came into e6, a fantastic move, threatening queen e8 check, which is just a terrible move for me because this queen is sacrificing itself and I can never capture it because this nasty pawn is defending the queen. I literally just bit my tongue while saying that. That's how much I hate that move. So bishop b4, you know, yeah, I lost my rook. Things got really ugly, and then I had one attempt of, you know, trying to push this pawn into making a queen, but my opponent just has too many checks. My king is too vulnerable, my opponent has too many checks, and it's always going to be possible for my opponent to stop this pawn from getting promoted. So at the end of the game, it was only my opponent that had fun. You know, it could have been a 4-queen chess game, but instead it became a 2-queen chess game with the 2 queens belonging to my opponent, which is kind of sad. But nonetheless, did I have fun in this game? Absolutely. I am not kidding you. This game has actually kind of sold me into playing the King's Indian. I had so much fun playing it. I feel so inspired to play it again. Let me know in the comments down below if you want to try to play the King's Indian, and if not, what you think is your favorite chess opening if you just want to have some fun whilst playing chess. So let me know that in the comments down below, the most fun opening out there. If I'm going to be completely honest, my favorite and most fun opening is the Nescafe Frappe attack. That is an opening. I hope that you enjoyed watching this video. Thank you so much, Liren, for this fantastic tip. And congrats to Ding for being now our new world chess champion. Thank you everybody so much for watching this video, and I will see you all in the next one. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed it.